Rosie the rabbit loved her kite. It was her most cherished possession, a gift from her grandmother. Every time she held it, she felt a special connection to her family and the joy they shared. The kite was bright yellow, like a dandelion in full bloom. Its vibrant color made it stand out against the blue sky, and Rosie loved how it seemed to glow in the sunlight. It danced in the wind, performing loops and twirls that made Rosie giggle with delight. She would spend hours watching it, mesmerized by its graceful movements. The kite soared high above the trees, reaching heights that made Rosie feel like she was flying along with it. She imagined herself riding the wind, exploring the world from above. Every day, Rosie played with her kite. It didn't matter if it was sunny or cloudy. She would always find a way to make her kite dance in the sky. It was her daily adventure, a ritual that brought her immense joy. She ran with it in the meadow, her feet barely touching the ground as she chased the wind. The meadow was her playground, and the kite was her partner in countless adventures. She watched it twirl in the sky, her eyes wide with wonder. Each twist and turn of the kite was like a dance, a performance just for her. The kite made Rosie so happy. It was more than just a toy. It was a symbol of freedom and joy, a reminder of the love her grandmother had for her. One day, a big gust of wind came. The trees swayed, and the grass bent low as the wind whooshed through the meadow with a force Rosie had never felt before. It whooshed through the meadow, making the tall grass dance wildly. Rosie felt the power of the wind tugging at her clothes and her kite. It tugged at the kite string. Rosie held on tight, her small hands gripping the string with all her might. She could feel the kite pulling away, but she was determined not to let go. Whoosh! The wind roared, and Rosie felt her feet lift off the ground for a moment. She laughed, exhilarated by the power of the wind. The wind pulled the kite high into the air, higher than it had ever flown before. Rosie watched in awe as it soared towards the clouds, a tiny speck against the vast sky. Rosie watched as her kite flew over the hill and into the forest. Her heart sank as she saw it disappear among the trees, but she knew she couldn't give up. Rosie was sad, but she knew what to do. She took a deep breath and made a plan. She would venture into the forest and find her beloved kite no matter what. She would find her kite. With determination in her heart and a smile on her face, Rosie set off on her adventure, ready to face any challenge that came her way. Rosie hopped over the hill. She hopped and hopped. She followed the path into the forest. The trees were tall and green. The leaves whispered in the wind. Rosie listened for the sound of her kite. She hopped past a babbling brook. She hopped over a fallen log. She hopped and hopped deeper into the forest. Rosie wasn't scared. She knew God was with her. Just like Daniel in the lion's den, she had faith that everything would be all right. She would find her kite. As Rosie hopped through the forest, she saw something move out of the corner of her eye. She stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding with curiosity and a hint of excitement. What could it be? The forest was full of surprises, and Rosie loved discovering new things. It was a little brown squirrel, busy gathering nuts for the winter. The squirrel moved quickly, darting from one spot to another, its tiny paws skillfully picking up the nuts and storing them in its cheeks. Rosie watched in amazement, fascinated by the squirrel's agility and speed.
Hello, my name is Sammy. The squirrel's voice was cheerful and friendly, and Rosie felt an instant connection. She smiled at Sammy, feeling happy to have made a new friend in the forest. "What are you doing here?" Rosie asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. She had never seen a squirrel up close before, and she was eager to learn more about Sammy and his life in the forest.
"I'm looking for my kite. It flew away," Rosie explained, her voice tinged with worry. She had spent hours making the kite with her family, and it was very special to her. Losing it in the forest was heartbreaking.
"Oh no, I'll help you look," Sammy offered, his eyes filled with determination. He knew how important the kite was to Rosie, and he wanted to do everything he could to help her find it.
Sammy scampered up a tree with ease. From his high perch, he looked all around, scanning the forest for any sign of the kite. The branches swayed gently in the breeze, and the leaves rustled softly, but there was no sign of the kite. He couldn't see the kite anywhere. Sammy's face fell, and he felt a pang of disappointment, but he didn't give up. He knew they had to keep looking. Rosie and Sammy decided to venture deeper into the forest. They walked side by side, their eyes scanning the trees and the ground for any sign of the lost kite. The forest was alive with the sounds of birds chirping and leaves crunching underfoot. As they walked, they met a family of deer grazing in a sunny clearing. The deer looked up curiously as Rosie and Sammy approached, their big, gentle eyes filled with kindness. "Have you seen a yellow kite?" Rosie asked the deer, her voice hopeful. She described the kite in detail, hoping that the deer might have seen it flying through the forest. The deer shook their heads sadly. They hadn't seen the kite, but they promised to keep an eye out for it as they roamed the forest.
"But we'll keep an eye out," Sammy reassured Rosie, his voice filled with determination. He knew they couldn't give up hope.
Rosie was grateful for their help. She smiled at her new friends, feeling a warm sense of gratitude. It was comforting to know that she wasn't alone in her search. It was nice to have friends who cared. Together they continued their search, their hearts filled with hope and determination. The forest was a big place, but with friends by her side, Rosie felt confident that they would find her kite. Rosie and Sammy hopped and hopped. They followed a winding path. They crossed a little bridge.
"I'm getting tired. Are you tired, Rosie?"
"A little, but I have to find my kite." Rosie remembered the story of Noah. Noah kept building the ark even when it was hard. Rosie would keep looking for her kite. "I won't give up. I'll find my kite." Rosie and Sammy hopped to the edge of the forest. They saw a river. Beside the river, something yellow caught Rosie's eye. It was her kite, but it wasn't flying in the sky. It was lying on the ground. "My kite!" She raced towards it. As she got closer, she saw something else. A big brown capybara was sleeping soundly underneath the kite. The kite was like a hammock.
"He looks so cozy."
"He does!" Rosie thought of the story of the Good Samaritan. She couldn't wake up the capybara. He needed his rest. Rosie looked at her kite. It was swaying gently in the breeze. She knew she could wake up the capybara and take it back, but she didn't. Rosie smiled. She had an idea. "Sammy, let's go find some vines." Rosie and Sammy gathered long, sturdy vines. They carefully tied the corners of the kite to the branches of a nearby tree. The kite became a perfect hammock for the capybara. "There, now he has a real hammock."
"You're a good friend, Rosie."
Rosie's heart felt happy. It felt even better than when she had her kite. As the sun began to set, the sky was painted with hues of orange, pink, and purple, casting a magical glow over the forest. The trees stood tall, their leaves rustling gently in the evening breeze. Rosie and Sammy said goodbye to their new friend, a gentle capybara they had met earlier that day. They had spent hours playing together, laughing and sharing stories. The bond they formed was special, and saying goodbye was bittersweet. Rosie knew she had to go home, but she wasn't sad anymore. The time spent with her new friends had filled her heart with joy and warmth. She walked along the forest path, the memories of the day playing in her mind like a beautiful melody. With each step, Rosie felt a sense of contentment. She had made new friends who understood her and shared her love for nature. The forest, once a place of solitude, now felt like a haven of happiness and connection. She had made new friends, and these friendships were like the roots of the trees, strong and supportive. They had played games, explored the woods, and discovered the wonders of the natural world together. She had helped the capybara, showing kindness and compassion. The capybara, in turn, had taught her the importance of empathy and understanding. It was a lesson she would carry with her forever, and she had learned that it's okay to let go of something you love, especially when you can share it with someone else. Letting go didn't mean losing. It meant creating space for new experiences and connections, especially when you can share it with someone else. Sharing brought joy and multiplied the happiness. Rosie realized that the more she shared, the more her heart expanded with love. As Rosie hopped back through the forest, her steps light and carefree, she felt a newfound sense of freedom. The forest seemed to come alive with her joy, the birds singing and the leaves whispering secrets of the earth. She realized that love multiplied when it was shared. The love she felt for her friends, the capybara, and the forest was now a part of her, growing and flourishing with each passing moment. And Rosie had a feeling deep in her heart that this was just the beginning. The connections she made today would last a lifetime, and the love she shared would always come back to her, like a boomerang of joy, that her kite would always find its way back to her.